Welcome dear students. Today we will start with a lecture on what is political. Here you will learn about what is political through Aristotle's Polis, types of equivocals, political as a pros hen equivocal, political in presenting. To begin with, political is a universal and seemingly indispensable term in the discussion of human affairs. We use it to speak of different kinds of things like institutions, actions, conflicts, expenditures, a type of discourse, a branch of science and such. We apply it to the life and thought of modern nations, ancient cities and primitive tribes. Even the internal affairs of businesses, unions, schools and churches are sometimes called political. In all these cases, we assume that the term has or at least can have some definite meaning. Yet, it is difficult to say what, if anything, political signifies in its various applications and how it signifies what it does. The meaning of political is not just a problem for semantics. It is a question that political scientists must confront at the outset of inquiry, for inquiry in any science can properly begin only after one has specified in some way, vaguely and naively as it may be, the kind of thing he intends to investigate. Political scientists are compelled to specify or take for granted some meaning of political in order to identify the political things. The meaning of political is neither unambiguous nor empirical. The other leading account of linguistic meaning gives up the effort to fix the meaning of terms by reference to the way terms are used. The prominent philosopher who used the word and defined the meaning of political and politics is Aristotle. He explained in much detail about the political in his work on Polis, where he detailed about the purpose of city, citizen, ruler, further explaining about the polity as the best practical regime and importance of the middle class. He dealt with the conflict between rich and the poor, varieties of democracy, the best kind of democracy, role of wealth in democracy, and explained about the best regime and the best men and also characteristics of the best city and also about the education of the young. He explained almost all things which we consider them as political. He further elaborated about the equivocal, which is ambiguous, and univocal, which is unambiguous, the explanation of what is political. Moving ahead to types of equivocals. Aristotle's distinction between univocal and equivocal naming provides a valuable starting point for our consideration of what political means. He draws this distinction in the following way at the beginning of the categories: things named univocally, which is synonyma, have in common both the name, onyma, and things named equivocally, which is homonyma, have a name in common but a different definition. To use Aristotle's examples, animal is applied univocally to a man and an ox For when we mention in what sense each is animal, the statement or definition of the beingness that makes each of the entities an animal is the same. If someone has to apply the name animal to a living man and a figure in a portrait, they would be using the name equivocally, meaning ambiguously, open to more than one interpretation, for the definition of what it is that makes each an animal is different. When we speak of various things as political, we do not name them univocally, like having only one possible meaning. A political party is a different kind of thing from a political speech. A political expenditure and a science differ in what they are, in their definition and beingness. Nevertheless, when we refer to these various things as political, we are not using the term in a purely equivocal way. It is not merely accidental that the common name political is applied to them. There is some basis in the things themselves for giving them a common name. The political things thus lie somewhere between univocal on the one hand and pure equivocal on the other. In other words, between ambiguous and unambiguous. Just where they lie should become clear as we examine Aristotle's treatment of those equivocal that are not purely coincidental or by chance. Aristotle in the Nicomachean Ethics mentions both of these types of equivocals in opposing the Platonic argument that there is one form or idea of the good, in which all good things participate and to which the term good refers. The core of Aristotle's case against the Platonic idea of the good is this: since the term good, like the term being, is predicted of different categories, example of entities, qualities, quantities, relations and such, it cannot refer to some one thing that is universally present in all cases. Political as a pros-hen equivocal, meaning in relation to one. Things of this type have the same name because of a common reference or relation to some one thing. Healthy and medical are Aristotle's favorite examples for illustrating pros-hen equivocity, explained in the work on metaphysics. To understand further, we might say healthy, that the term is applied to exercise as something that preserves health, to medicine as something that produces it. Here the etymology of political provides the necessary information about the word. The term is derived from the Greek word polis, which designates a human community of a particular type. Polis originally meant the citadel at the heart of the city, but in time it came to mean the city as a whole, including the country dwellers who took part in its business and politics. The primary instance of something political and thus the central or focal meaning of the term is the political community, the polis. Other things are called political by reference to the primary instance. The Greek political vocabulary provides us with many examples of things that are properly termed political by virtue of their relation or reference to the political community. The polis is the person who has the right to share in the distinctive work of the polis, the work of deliberating and judging. Thus, he is the citizen who enjoys full political rights. The politeuma is the whole body of persons who have the right to deliberate and judge the civic body. The word politei also refers to the body of citizens, but it means something more. Since the men who rule decide on the good toward which political activity will be directed, politia means also the way of life of a community, its moral taste. It means the ordering or organization of a community with respect to political authority, and also the principle of justice, according to which authority is assigned to some men rather than to others. The politia has reference to the polis as the form that gives this community its distinctive character. The politikos is the politician or statesman who under the best circumstances will have the practical wisdom or prudence, the politicae that is needed for directing the affairs of the political community. The things that may properly be called political are by no means limited to those things whose names point by their derivation to the polis. In Aristotle's rhetoric, for example, we find an account of the things that a speaker must be able to talk about in the course of political deliberation and debate. In addition to the politei and the laws that are suited to each of them, the political speaker must know about revenues, expenditures, war and peace, military power, the defense of the country and the food supply. These various things are political by virtue of their relation or reference in one way or other to the polis. Political is a pros hen equivocal, meaning in relation to one. Political science must first of all make clear the nature of that one particular thing, the political community, by reference to which the other political things are named. Aristotle argues that every community aims at some good. Since every action is for sake of something that seems good, the community that aims at some good in the highest degree and moreover aims at the most authoritative of all goods in the most authoritative and inclusive community. The political community, the polis, is such a community for its aim is the good or happy life for man. Considering the polis as the primary instance of something political is not contradicted by the fact that the major theme of Aristotle's politics turns out to be the politei, and more particularly the best politei rather than simply the polis. The politei is properly understood as a form of the polis, the way it is ordered or constituted, and every actual polis comes to view as formed already by some politei. Truly, to understand a thing is to see it in its complete or perfect condition, so that the polis itself must be seen in the light of the best politei. The polis has been superseded by modern state or nation, and this type of association is something very different from polis. The polis consists of a city and its surrounding territory, while a nation can extend across an entire continent and include hundreds of millions of people. According to Aristotle, the polis is large enough for self-sufficiency, but small enough to combine civilization with freedom. Rousseau, one of the few modern defenders of the city, argues that its size conforms to the natural limits of man's ability to know and to care about others. The modern vocabulary of politics originates in political theory that specifically opposes the sort of authoritative community that the polis represented. The polis was understood to aim at the good or happy life for men, and the education of its members in virtue was thought to be required by this aim. As per the modern view, the purpose of political society is not to produce happiness, but to secure the conditions that permit each individual to pursue happiness as he understands it. Society is a network of human relationships that arise from the striving of individuals to attain their private ends, and the state is the agency that guarantees the means or conditions for this striving. Dear students, now let us look into the political in present day. Given the fact that the polis has disappeared and been replaced by associations of a fundamentally different kind, what can political mean in its present day applications? The term is not used univocally since it is applied to very different kinds of things, and it is not a pros and equivocal since the primary entity to which the term properly refers has disappeared. Does its meaning depend simply on its use, as the followers of Wittgenstein have argued? Do we mislead ourselves when we search for the real meaning of political in things to which it might refer? If what we call a state or nation were something altogether different from a polis, the term political, when applied to both, would then be used as a pure equivocal. For example, to designate things that have nothing in common but the name. Nevertheless, it is not by accident or chance that we speak of our lives under government and law as political. In reading of deliberation and debate in the polis, we recognize issues and processes that are like those which we experience today. We are compelled to decide about such things as revenues, expenditures, war and peace, military power, defense, the supply of food and other resources, and legislation. We continue to order our lives together in accordance with some perception of what is good and bad, just and unjust, noble and base. Other types of association, a business, a school, a church, an empire, a tribe, can also be called political by analogy. Even though their degree of likeness to the polis might be outweighed by their differences. Leo Strauss concerns that our opinions or ideas about politics are mostly abbreviations or residues of the thought of the past rather than the products of a direct experience of political life. The modern idea of the state, for example, emerged not simply from the experience of states, but partly from the transformation or reinterpretation of more elementary ideas of the idea of the city in particular. The reflections on political inquiry have led to the same conclusion as our analysis of the meaning of the term political. In order to speak intelligibly of political things and to understand them, we are compelled to seek some insight into nature of the polis as a distinctive kind of human community and into the fundamental differences between the polis and other ways of associating to achieve common purposes. Dear students, to conclude, the term political means or signifies in an equivocal way. The things called political need not have an essence or properties or even fixed structures in common to support this designation. The terms of political philosophy, political thought, political theory, political science, political affairs explains the nature of equivocal sense of political. To expand further, political thought is a thought of the whole community that includes the writings and speeches of the articulate sections such as professional politicians, political commentators, society reformers and ordinary persons of a community. Thought can be in the form of political treatises, scholarly articles, speeches, government policies and decisions, and also poems and prose that capture the anguish of the people. Thought is time bound, for instance, the history of the 20th century. Political theory, it is concerned mainly with the foundations of political community and institutions. It focuses on human nature and the moral purposes of political association. Political theory also focuses on empirical research into the way political institutions function in practice. The political methodology is concerned with the philosophical basis of political science, social science, empirical design and analysis and practical field research experience. Now, political science, it focuses on the theory and practice of government and politics at the local, state, national and international levels. To learn the understandings of institutions, practices and relations that constitute public life and modes of inquiry that promote citizenship. The political philosophy, it provides general answers to questions such as what is justice, concepts of right, the distinction between is and ought and the larger issues of politics. Political philosophy is a part of normative political theory, for it attempts to establish interrelationships between concepts. It is perhaps accurate to say that every political philosopher is a theorist, though every political theorist is not a political philosopher. Political philosophy is a complex activity which is best understood by analyzing the many ways that the acknowledged masters have practiced it. No single philosopher and no one historical age can be said to have defined it conclusively. Dear students, hope you learned the meaning of what is political. We'll meet again to learn more about the political philosophy, its emergence and significance in further lectures. Till Till then, happy learning. Thank you.